Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with Golden Opportunities Coaching, and I know it's been a while. It's been well over a month since the last time I was here. I will give a short update and say that between some health related challenges and some other things that have taken me away from this channel, it's been a bit of a delay. Now, with the new year here and hopefully some more balance in my schedule, I am going to return to daily audios. If there's something we can do to help you, or if you're looking for coaching in business, personal, or ways of enhancing your spirit or finding your purpose, please feel free to reach out on Twitter at PO Perception or through my website that you can find in the channel descriptions area, or just leave a comment and we'll post it below. Anyway, today we're going to talk about an unfortunate subject that matters to lots of folks, and that is abusive parents. And we're going to look at just about 8 signs of those. If you've ever dealt with abuse, first of all, my challenges with you, and my sympathies are with you, and certainly I hope that you're getting the help you need. But actually, the next few audios are about signs of abuse, and so ultimately, it's a really challenging thing. So we're going to talk at those things. So the first sign is pretty simple: violence. Signs of violence: verbal, physical, mental, emotional, or sexual violence is an abusive parent. If there is a need to use force or the threat of force, this person is abusive. Now, usually, any use of force or threat thereof is a sign of the need for control. A person who feels the need to control children, be they young, teenager, or adult children, is a person who has not found peace within themselves, balance within themselves, and ultimately maybe struggling with some degree of challenges within their own control within themselves. Now, many people who are abusers are actually just broken people inside, and they have traumatic wounds that they never healed. That doesn't give them an excuse for their behavior, but it does give a reason to the erroneous behavior. The second is personal attacks. A lot of the compare and contrast that abusive parents will do is about their own wound, as mentioned, from childhood, and so they may verbally attack or intimidate a child because they themselves didn't achieve what they wanted to through their own life or through their childhood. If, for example, there's a generational coalition that is several generations worth of verbal or emotional abuse, it is very likely to continue. This is because if a person doesn't have a framework for the level of support they need or the ways to break a cycle, they're just going to go with what they know, and a lot of times it's automatic and autonomic, meaning it's in the system, and so that creates problems within itself. Many times these people are doing this automatically from the subconscious or subliminal mind, and they don't even realize the pattern they're in the middle of. The next is overly angry people. I always say to clients, and it's super important that I assimilate it here. But angry people are just people that don't have a way to control their sadness. As I get my phone, and we will be back in 2 seconds. Okay. And in truth, the next factor to consider is in fact that they will have anger issues that are pretty pronounced. These are not things that you can do anything about. The anger issues at the end really come down to sadness pushed outward and upward. And so when a person has the inability to control their anger, it's because they really are sad over not having control, and they often take that out on their children. Many people, honestly, would do better to put their children up for adoption, or would do better to place their children with other family members rather than raise children. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people, but not everyone is debutized or properly, I guess, set to be able to give love. And unfortunately, we live, especially in Western society, where you created the child, therefore you care for it, and that's not the pathway of every soul. And so when you have an abusive parent, part of recovery is understanding that they do not have the ability to handle the stressors of parenthood. Then another thing is they'll withhold love. Now, love, we idealize the idea that love from parents is supposed to be unconditional, and in a perfect world, and if a person is ready for the responsibilities of parenthood, it would be and is. However, many people do not have the ability to give unconditional love if they've never received it. Therefore, an abusive parent will make very conditional love based on a child's performance, behavior, school performance, athletic performance, performance of duties or services, chores in the house, whatever it may be. This is because, again, if one's love is linked to performance within themselves, within previous generation, they will pass that on to their children. Oftentimes they have difficulty with responsibility. Now, responsibility can be financial, emotional, mental, physical, and it can also be if the person has, let's say, a trauma core issue, they don't know how to ultimately be responsible to another human being. And this is where, unfortunately, our society fails kids who don't have parents that are capable of caring for them in a way that is nurturing and upright. Because if you have a parent who is incapable, even if they admit to being incapable, that doesn't necessarily mean that the child will get the support that it needs, and that is a failure in our modern society. Another thing is isolation. Either isolation of the child, in other words, fear that something bad is going to happen to the child, or isolation of the parent, where the parent chooses to become almost socially phobic and not do anything themselves, and or not let the child do anything either. This isolation mentality, which is valid in some ways, in other words, you don't want to have your kid take needless risks, but at the same time, kids have to learn and grow at their own pace. And certainly, with the rise in violence and random acts of violence and all of that, it's a tricky thing. I wouldn't think that many parents know exactly what to do in 2021, unlike 50, 60, 70 years ago, when you could trust to send your kid out into the neighborhood. There are many places in Western civilization and all around the world, really, that it's no longer safe for a child to be in public. And so now we have this issue, especially certainly with COVID-19 as well, where parents are struggling to find ways to not have isolated kids, but then parents with paranoia issues or issues with control ultimately we use isolation and the release from isolation as another control mechanism. Many parents that are abusive to their children have substance abuse problems underlying or other addictive behaviors. Anything from gambling or sexual addiction or addiction to alcohol, drugs, or other substances can certainly cause abuse because the mood changes that come with these things ultimately lead to a separation from being able to give and receive love appropriately. The last thing is that they will threaten, whether they threaten to harm themselves, the child themselves, or anything else. Threats are used as another form of control. Certainly, if you know someone that is being unkind to a child and or you are struggling with that yourself, getting the appropriate help is necessary, but it's often multi-layered complicated for a person to realize they have the issue and then to address the issue appropriately. Once again, if there's something I can do to be of service, please feel free to leave a comment below. And until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.